Hi, thanks for tuning into this video. I'm excited to bring you this video. It's going to be my thoughts on the Urban Decay Naked 2 palette. I know pretty much every person on YouTube out there has talked about this palette, but I thought I would give you my thoughts on it anyway. I'm going to be comparing it to the first Naked palette, kind of the pros and cons of both, and then kind of giving my overall opinion of the product and which one I prefer of the two palettes, and if you really need to buy both, or if maybe one is just more suited to you. And then I'm also going to show a few palettes that aren't necessarily dupes, but I think are going to give you a very similar look, but a fraction of the price. So if the Urban Decay palettes just aren't in your price range, because they are quite pricey, then there's some other options for you as well. So this is the Naked 2 palette. I'm sure you all have seen it, but if you haven't, this is what it looks like. And it is in a tin case, kind of like a paintbrush kind of case, metal tin. And it's a nice kind of beigey color. It looks like that. It says Naked 2. And this is solid, whereas the Naked 1 came in this velvety case with the cardboard magnetic flap. And then you open it up, and I haven't used the brush yet, but it comes with a double-ended brush that has a blending brush on one end and then more of a shadow brush on the other. So I'll show you that brush. And I haven't used it yet, and I'll explain why in a second. So this is the brush, this is the blending side, and then the shadow side. And the reason why I haven't opened this brush yet is because I've been using the Sigma brushes. I got a Sigma set recently, and I've just been so in love with them that I just haven't played around with this brush yet. And the other thing is I found the Urban Decay brush that came in the first one, which looks like this. That same kind of flat, sorry it's dirty, isn't very good for packing on color. I find that it just doesn't pack on the color like I would want it to. So I just kind of have that negative feeling about the Urban Decay brush that I just haven't really grabbed for this one yet. But I think this blending side probably is quite good. And I know Lisa told me that she uses that brush in the Naked 1 palette for concealer, and it definitely is the perfect shape for that. So might be an option to find another purpose for it if you don't find that it applies shadow very nicely. And then you get 4, 8, 12 shadows, and these are the shadows. And after the video I will post some still shots of the photos just to give maybe true representation of the color. Maybe try to get some close-ups on each individual color as well. So as you can see, quite a few cool tones in this palette. There are some warm shades, but there are a few more cool ones. Whereas, just for comparison, the Urban Decay Naked 1 palette is pretty much all warm colors. And that's what the first one looks like. And I remember when they first released it, it was released, I think, December 1st. I was a little disappointed at first because I thought, man, those two palettes look exactly the same. But after seeing more detailed swatches and close-ups of the colors, I found that they are actually quite different, and you can achieve quite different looks with them. And I definitely think that Naked 2 is definitely my favorite. I really love taupes. Taupes are just my favorite eyeshadow, especially recently because, as I've said before, I'm in a teaching education program, and I find I can't really get away with some of the bright colors that I normally enjoy, so I've been gravitating to taupes a lot because I really like that color on my eye, and I think it looks really professional and chic. So this palette I do prefer. And I think this palette definitely complements lighter skin tones. I think it would work for darker skin tones, but a lot of the shades are quite light, so they may not show up very well on super dark skin tones. One feature that I like that they've included is a matte highlight, and that shade is called Foxy, which is kind of a nice buttery cream color, and it's perfect for the brow bone. And they've included a matte black, which is really nice, and which they definitely didn't have in the first Naked palette. And the Naked 2 also comes with an Urban Decay Lip Junkie gloss in the shade Naked, and just a cute tiny little gloss. The Naked 1 comes with a small Urban Decay primer potion. I really like the gloss. It stays on a really long time. The color is really nice and natural looking and complements the shades in the palette very nicely. Won't last a long time because it's quite little, but I found that I was accumulating quite a few of the Urban Decay Primer Potion samples because I bought in other palettes, so I thought it was kind of nice to have something a little different. So as I've stated before, I prefer this palette over the Naked one because, as I said, I enjoy having that matte highlight, and the matte black is really nice as well. There's also two other matte shades, Tease and Booty Call, and then the rest are shimmery, and some of them are quite shimmery. Urban Decay is kind of notorious for having glitter bomb eyeshadows, and that's kind of a term that's used to describe shadows that have a lot of glitter fallout, and this one has this peachy copper color called Chopper, and it does have a ton of glitter fallout, much like Sidecar in the first Naked palette, but I find that the glitter doesn't seem to be quite as bad in this palette as the Naked one. I definitely prefer this palette for my eye color because I think cooler tones look nicer with my dark hair and dark eyes, but I think blue-eyed people, if you have blue eyes and you can't really decide which palette to get, I really think blue-eyed people definitely should look into this palette. I think the warmer colors and the bronzy colors, golds, and even the cooler brown still has a hint of gold in it, the Dark Horse color. I think this palette really complements blue eyes, whereas I find some of the bronzier shades don't always really complement my eye color. So I do really love this palette, and I'm glad I have it in my collection, but there are a few colors in here that I feel don't complement my coloring very well, and for that reason I don't always grab for it very often. But it's definitely an amazing palette to have, and I think, like I said, blue-eyed people would really love this palette. Do you need both palettes? If you're an avid makeup collector, I would say probably yes, because it is nice to have the different colors, and it's really nice to use them in conjunction with each other. I have done a few looks where I've grabbed a few shades from this one and then paired them with shades from Naked 1. But they are quite expensive. This one is about $48 plus tax, and then this one is $50 plus tax. I guess they justify the extra cost because you're getting two brushes in it with the double-ended brush. I don't know, I think they're just charging more because they can. I have to say, one thing I really don't appreciate about Urban Decay is their marketing. I think they do a very good job of their marketing in that they make us feel like we really need these palettes, and I found with the launch of the Urban Decay Naked 2, very similar to all the hype that this palette got, they would say, oh, it's only going to be available for these days, and oh, we're sold out, and oh, you have to log on right away next week to see if we're going to have more palettes. Personally, I think that's all a scam. I think they have plenty of stock. I think they're just saying that to build up the hype. But that's a bit off topic. But anyway, I do really love these palettes. I think they're incredible quality, very highly pigmented, very creamy, buttery-like texture, very nice shadows indeed. And I personally prefer the Naked 2. I feel like I can make more looks with it that flatter my eye color. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I've been grabbing for it a lot. I think in the short time that I've had this palette, I think I've grabbed for it more than I have this palette, and I've had it since last summer. So that's definitely kind of telling me something, that I definitely like this one better. In terms of packaging, I like them both. I really think this velvety case is quite unique. I don't really like that hair and dust kind of sticks to it, so I do have to kind of clean it frequently. But I do like the packaging of it. And I also like this metal packaging. I think it's nice and sturdy. It is a bit prone to scratches. I do have a few on here already. But other than that, that's really minor. And I really do like how sturdy it is. It is quite a bit heavier than this one. But I love the color of it. I think it looks really chic, and since I love taupes, I'm glad that they picked a nice taupe color. My only main complaint is that they included Half Baked in this palette, which is this really gold color here. And they also included it in the Naked 2 palette. And that just really frustrates me because many of us already have the Naked one, so I would have preferred a different shade. But I imagine their thinking was that a nice gold is something that you're going to use with these colors, so they included it in here. I don't know, but Urban Decay often does re-promotes where they put colors from previous palettes, which can be frustrating if you're a collector. But then again, they do have to think about their customers that don't have all their other palettes and would probably really appreciate that gold color. So do you need both? I would say no. Like I said, if you're a collector, then sure, you're not going to be disappointed. But I would really kind of evaluate and analyze the colors between the two and decide which you're actually going to use more. I'd say blue-eyed people, grab for this one. Brown-eyed people, maybe grab for this one. If you like cooler colors, this one's going to be better for you. And if you like warmer colors, this is going to be better for you. But I said if you grab both, you're not going to be disappointed. And then, as promised, I have a few palettes that I think will achieve similar looks. First is by Sleek Cosmetics, and you can get this on sleekmakeup.com. And this is their nude collection, the Au Naturel palette. And I've showed this before. I really love it. These are the colors you get. Super highly pigmented, and you're definitely going to achieve very similar looks with it. And they do not cost very much money. I think they're about $10 or $11, and then you have to pay for shipping, of course. And then if you are in the UK and you can get these in your drugstores, definitely try this if you can't afford the Naked palette, or you already have the Naked one and you think they're too similar. You might want to grab this. It has a lot of those taupey shades in it. Another palette is the NYX Butt Naked palette, and these are the shadows. Very similar colors. Not as pigmented as the Naked palette, and I've heard that people think this is just as good as the Naked palette or better. Just a little mini review. I don't think it's better than the Naked palettes. The shadow quality just isn't the same. They are very nice shadows, but you definitely have to build them up more than the Naked palettes. But they are quite nice and will achieve similar looks, like I said. And what's nice about this palette is you get 4 blushes, 2 highlighters, and a bronzer as well. So you kind of have a whole face palette here. So that's an option as well. And then finally, oh, and you can get that on cherryculture.com, the NYX website, and they are selling it in some drugstores. And then finally, the Warm palette by Eyes, Lips, Face, or e.l.f. is also going to give you very similar looks to the Naked palette. Again, not as high quality. Some of the shadows aren't super pigmented. Some of them are a little bit powdery, but a lot of them for the most part are quite high quality, quite pigmented, and you're only going to pay $5 for this. So these are some palettes to consider. You can get this on eyeslipsface.com, and many drugstores sell e.l.f. cosmetics as well. If you're in Canada, e.l.f. is carried in Winners and I believe Zellers as well. So you might want to check out for this palette. And so there are some cheaper options definitely out there that are going to give you very similar looks. But all in all, I'm really happy with the Naked palette, the Naked 2 palette, as well as the Naked 1. They are, at a first glance, quite similar in terms of the colors, but once you work with the colors, they are quite different, and you can never have too many neutrals. So I'm really enjoying the Naked 2. It is my favorite of the two. And definitely let me know what you think about the Naked 2 palette, which one's your favorite between the two palettes. Maybe you don't like either of them. Maybe there's another palette out there that you think's a closer dupe than the ones I've mentioned. And stay tuned for a couple images at the end. There are going to be some still shots of the palettes and might give you a truer representation of the colors. And definitely stay tuned for a giveaway that's coming up. I won't tell you what it is just yet, but it's going to be next week sometime. And I will see you in the next video. So I'll see you guys.